Welcome back, Red Spotters. Another show here on the Red Spotlight Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host today, Alexis J. Soto, and I'm joined by, the usuals. I have Mr. Peter Martinez here and Ms. Alexys Moreno. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Oh, God, here we go. This is episode number 222. And similarly to how last week's show was, it's going to be a very, very conversational type show where we kind of catch up on what we've been up to in the week, of course, with the pandemic going on and staying at home with social distancing. We'll be sharing some things that we've watched, maybe make some more recommendations for you guys who are listening to watch for yourself. There is no shortage of content that you can consume with the ever-longing pandemic. And of course, we'll be talking about the pandemic and what we've been doing, as just what normal life has turned into. There will be a lot of opinions, as there usually are on this show. And if I may, just for a second, begin off with this, because it really, I understand everybody's, and I'm referring to people who do what we do, but competently, and they make money off of it. Because there's been, in the time that we're living in right now, there's been much more content, and people have been doing many more podcasts and shows, and the conversation surrounding coronavirus I've noticed, has brought out political discussion. And there seems to be, understandably, resistance getting into that sort of thing, because that's just not what they do. And it's not as, I think, of a reach for this show and for me and Peter, because we literally insert our politics in, I think, almost every episode of this show, even if it was warranted or not.
No, I don't like politics. I think people should stop inserting politics into everything.
So, oh my God, it's just that if there's going to be a natural place to start this week, it's with this. I don't care if you're okay with listening to politics or not. If you don't like it, I would ask that you at least listen to what we have to say. But if you don't want to hear, the kind of takes that are going to be had here, well, it's up to you whether or not you want to listen. But one of the examples that I have to really bring up in terms of what's happened this week is I watched a segment of a particular podcast. And they were talking about the fact that movie theaters might begin to open again in Georgia next week. And it was honestly just pathetic to watch them fumble around the fact that there's a Republican governor in Georgia and it is very politically motivated. And it just shows you that when you extrapolate the politics out of a situation, you really just can't have an honest and substantive discussion on why it is, if it's even a good idea or not, to have theaters open, because then you're being overly fair to some pretty malicious individuals.
Just from a, how do you put it, financial point of view, they don't have movies to show. I want movie theaters to open too, but what are they going to show right now?
Mm-hmm.
Realistically. And also, no one's going to want to risk it. It's such bullshit. And I agree. It's hard to have these discussions without pointing out, the political motivations behind them. Although, I don't know if you saw this. I might be wrong, because I found it kind of crazy. But Trump had said he strongly disagrees with the Georgian governor.
That was one of the weirdest thing I've read.
Yeah, that was
all
weird.
Year. It was weird because I was reading that today. We're recording this on Wednesday, April 22nd. Is that today?
Yes.
April 22nd is the date of this recording, and the governor of Georgia announced this, I think, 2 days ago, and President Trump, again, same political party, said that he strongly disagrees with that, and I'm like, did you wake up with the wrong side of the bed today? That's what?
Yeah, he's been pushing to reopen like for weeks now, and then
you almost get the idea that maybe he just thought that no one was going to actually listen to him. He was just trying to rile up his people. And then the minute that the actual governors listened to him, he's like, what are you guys thinking? I was just joking around. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna do that politically, like, get on the same page first. I don't know. I just think, no. I mean, I really think it's thousands and thousands of death sentences to reopen right now. And I mean, it's basically too late. We're gonna see some more huge surges out and around the country. Especially in Florida, because they fucking reopened beaches.
Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, literally all of the southern states, which I should remind you, and this is why politics matters in these discussions, are all governed by Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, and again, just from a strategic point of view, if you're conservative, your base is older, and if you want to, some of these states are kind of close states, like Florida. Do you really want to kill your voter base just from like a strictly political viewpoint, like removing the obviously disgusting aspect of, not caring about human life? Removing that, just kind of shoving it out of the way for a second. Just from a political point of view, these are the states that you should probably try and save more than anything. But no, I guess not. Okay. I guess from a very selfish point of view, I see that and I get very pissed off because it's like, great, is this going to affect California and how long we have to do this? Because I have been a very good boy and I have stayed inside. Like, I don't even get fast food. Like, I don't see anyone, talk to anyone. Like, I've been trying to do this right, and it's really infuriating to see other people.
It is.
Yeah.
This is why I mentioned off the bat about the whole political discussion, because, it is true that, and this is just objective reality, the people right now all over the country who are protesting the lockdown are idiots and morons. And they make a great case for letting natural selection run its course.
I mean, I'd rather it didn't, but they're the ones forcing that because they're the ones going outside. I'd much rather nobody die. Like, in any situation, I'm going to try and push towards nobody dying. I would want everyone saved in this situation, including Trump supporters. But it's really hard when there's a certain group of people that are just trying so hard, trying to kill themselves and everyone else around them, which might include me and people I care about personally.
Yeah.
And that
So
they
it's
just
like-
don't care. Like,
Yeah.
that's the part that, like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know. It's just like, they're supposed to be all, like, patriotic. Like, you see them wearing the American flag and stuff. It's like, okay, but, like, you're not trying to save us either. So,
It
like,
feels like you're trying to kill us.
yeah. Like, I don't understand what you're trying to do. Because, yeah, like, what you're saying, like, that totally, like, I get that too, how you're saying that, like, if they do open up the theaters, like, what are they gonna show? Because I'm kind of in that situation too, where, like, if we open up, like, right now, nobody's gonna show up. Like, or maybe if they do, it's like, it's not, like, I feel like it'll hurt us more than save us, because we're not gonna be making the same amount that we usually make, because
And then you'll get sick.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
I don't, like, it's not smart.
these are the same people that had. Well, first of all, what's the death toll at right now?
That's what I wanted to update you. I wanted to pull up this tweet by Ryan Struck, who is a reporter for CNN. He's the one that mainly does these updates. The last time the three of us, which was just last week, about 7 days ago, we did a podcast. The death toll for coronavirus cases in the United States was at 22,000. And we had thought by the time that podcast was uploaded, it would have been 30,000. 1 week later, we're at currently 46,609 deaths in the United States. In 1 week, we went from 22,000 people dead to 47,000 people dead.
So just over doubling it.
It doubled, yeah.
See, this is what's crazy to me, right? Like, I remember 9/11. Like, it was this huge, shocking thing. Like, it changed the face of the country forever in a big bad way. And it's crazy to me. Like, 3,000 people died that day, which is terrible. But the very people who, in which on that day, 3,000 people, the MAGA people who are like, oh, sorry, I hit the mic. Who are like, let's go to war. Let's hate all Muslims forever. It's this and that. And, we can't kneel at the national anthem because then terrorists win. I remember.
We can't disrespect our boys in blue.
Yeah.
Listen to the law. Obey law and order. The law and order. 3,000
deaths moved them. Even if I don't like the ways in which it moved them, it had a profound impact.
Yeah.
That was 3,000. Over 40,000, I'm sure well over 50 by the time this is uploaded, have died.
No, well over 65.
Okay, shit.
At this point, I mean, the way that this is going, well over 65,000.
And I see them making arguments like, let me get a haircut. It's okay if some people die because life moves on. Like these crazy
it's so stupid.
arguments.
I have to laugh because how insane. And you know what?
It's crazy.
It's like I have known, and this is why I feel so strongly and so passionately about my political ideology and what I feel this country, what kind of not just like policies, but I think you have to really just look at the people around you, right? I've never liked conservatism or the policies because I've never believed in it. But how many times do we have to be reminded or shown from the same group of people who identify as either Trumpers, Republicans, or conservatives? How many times do we have to be reminded that they don't care about anyone but themselves and their own personal problems?
That's not true, though, because they're going out and killing themselves. Like, they're the ones. They're going out into the streets and touching and interacting and not wearing gloves. Like, they're perfectly fine with killing themselves. And, like, I agree. That's what makes it so crazy to me. It's like a death cult. Because it's like...
It is a cult of personality with President Trump. That much we know.
Sure.
But one of my former roommates made this observation. If these people don't think that we should be in lockdown, then why are they all wearing... Some of them are wearing masks during
some
the
of them
protests.
But some of them do believe in it, though. Like, some of them that are protesting are like, yes, this is a real thing, but we should still open up.
But,
like,
I don't.
I don't understand.
And, like, again, it's so frustrating because for me, where it's like I take every precaution humanly possible, and I'm like, okay, if everyone we just do this, it'll be over so much quicker. And because I don't like being in, it's so boring. I hate it. I got to quote Tangled, when will my life begin? It's it sucks.
It's literally like that. When this all started, somebody tweeted out, I feel like we're in kindergarten where somebody gets in trouble and takes away our recess time. Like, you people need to stay inside because you're taking away my recess time.
Yeah, and it's just like so many things where it's like, well, I just want to stop by Walmart and just browse, and it's like, no, I can't. Like, it's dumb, it's dangerous. Just stay home. So like, I don't even mean fucking. Oh my god, I have not had Spicy's Wendy's chicken nuggets in weeks.
Boy.
In weeks. And like, I know a lot of people, even the people that are like hunkered down and like doing their best, still go out and like get fast food and shit. Like, I'm not even doing that. And it's like, they had like a special, like $4. I don't know. It looked awesome. And I didn't, like, because it's like, I need to do everything in my part just to not risk it. And it's just like, for the love of God, can just everyone do the same? It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's very frustrating. I mean, it is hard mentally, but like physically, no.
It's very like, what is it? What's that saying where like something is hard, but like for us, like, what the hell?
What? It's hard, but for us?
Like, fuck. I forgot what I was gonna say. Hold on, let me Google it, 'cause it's gonna bug me. First world problems. That's what I was trying to say.
First world problems. Yeah. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I have just to catch people up on here, some headlines that I've been saving that have happened in the last week since we recorded, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this should give everyone an opportunity to really see what's been happening. So the first headline I have is Indiana congressman, obviously Republican, says he's willing to let more Americans die to save the economy. That's a headline by NBC News. He's willing to let Americans die to save the economy, which is, to me, that seems to be the most potent argument that conservatives are waving around. It's like, yeah, people are going to die, but the economy, we can't let the economy collapse and recession and depression. Peter, how do you respond to those claims?
If we have a system in which we're not capable of withstanding like these kinds of pandemics, well, I mean, just the fact that we have to bail out the economy every 10 years isn't the best. But the fact that, you know, we have to just completely buckle every time we have something like this pandemic, it's very disconcerting. The economy is meant to serve us, like human beings. Like, that's, yeah, it's supposed to be a system in which best, you know, serves us and our lives. But if we're literally at the point where it's like, well, no, we need to sacrifice our lives to the system, then maybe we should change the system. But I mean, to be honest, while I would probably prefer that at some level, I don't even think we need to do that, because you could just look at every other fucking civilized country in the world, and most of them are capable of providing, you know, a check to its citizens every single month, of between $1,000 to $2,000, providing healthcare, just several, providing face masks, providing testing, healthcare in which, you know, they don't go bankrupt to just get a test to see if they have the coronavirus. It seems like other countries are very, very capable of doing this. And they're not at the risk of like fucking economic collapse because of it. Richest country in the world, we should probably be able to do it. I feel like it's kind of gaslighting to say, well, no, you know, we're not able to do that. We need to just restart the economy right now or else we'll collapse. And it's like, fuck, really? Because other countries that aren't as economically strong as us are capable of doing it, so why can't we? I don't know.
Alexis, what do you think?
The same. It's just, I don't know. I mean, and then not even that, like, to put, like, lives above something that, like, is honestly, like, a privilege,
right.
like, it's ridiculous.
Well, they're not putting lives above it. They're putting lives below,
below
the economy. That right. Because it would. I mean, obviously, the rational response would be, no, we're not okay with people dying so the economy can survive. Because why would any human being say something so horrible?
Yeah.
That's the first reaction. Let me tell you something in response to this argument. There will be no economy if we all die. That won't even matter. That won't even matter if we're sick and dead.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
Mm-hmm. But I do want to make clear, though, because then a lot of them are making the argument, well, no, it's okay because only 3% of us will die. It's not all of us. There will still be 90 safe. But, like, let's say that's true, which most likely true. Well, if it only affects... but again, that the death rate often depends on access to medical supplies and shit like that. And if everyone gets infected, obviously the death rate is going to shoot up like crazy because there won't be enough room in hospitals. But let's say, sure, 3% of the U.S. population. Do you know how much 3% of the U.S. population is? That is death on a scale unheard of in this country. I don't know, maybe one of the world wars. Like, it's thousands upon thousands upon thousands.
Well, the estimate says, I think, maybe 1.5 million people dead.
Yeah, 1.5 million people dead.
Which, like, shouldn't even be a consideration. Like, we shouldn't have allowed it to
be
get...
okay?
Like, not, it's just so stupid.
It's like... Also, especially because guess who those 1.5 million people that are going to die? It's not the rich people. They're going to continue to hunker down and be okay. It's going to be grocery store workers. It's going to be more nurses. It's going to be servants at restaurants. It's going to be the working class that they want to sacrifice upon the altar of, society so that, their profits stop going down. I will say I saw a tweet about this, and yeah, I pretty much agree. If this whole situation has shown us anything, it shows who actually runs this country. It's working class people. Because all of the rich people, they're the ones begging them to get these people back to work because they're the ones,
And we constantly step on them. And this will be the one and only time that I mention this because we haven't talked about this yet. The working class are of this country are forever and always being told to go fuck themselves because the working class, overwhelmingly, as far as donations, and as far as actual votes, supported one particular candidate. And the elite of one political party with their allies in the corporate media went out of their way to crush that candidate. And now that candidate's on the ballot for November. So
Klobuchar?
Exactly, Amy Klobuchar.
She would have thrown a stapler at the head of the establishment.
Right. Here's the thing, going back to COVID-19 in this argument. About, being okay with sacrificing lives. And this whole idea, well, if we don't do this now, first of all, it's not as if we've reached a turning point. This thing is still spreading. And if you open up America with all of the businesses, what do you think is going to happen? It's only going to result in more people getting infected and more people dying. Like, hello?
This might sound crazy, but maybe it'd be a good idea to just to quote Donald Trump, shut it all down until we figure out what's going on.
I mean, maybe that'll get them to listen because, you know, they worship at him. And then there's this other thing where they say that if we don't do this, then there will be a recession. That ship has sailed, mate. It sailed years ago when Trump was elected president of the United States. The recession was coming already because of Donald Trump's policies. And then this virus just completely exacerbated the recession that is coming. If not, we're already in.
I mean, I'd rather deal with recession than mass graves.
There are literally, didn't you say last week that there are mass morgues now or mass burials in New York City?
And I mean, like, yes, economically it's not great, but like I said, other countries have seen, you know, capable of doing it. And if you're genuinely worried about the economy, then you should want this to be over as quickly as possible. Because we only really have two options. This is America, so we're constantly faced with just two shitty options. The two options are we, you know, stay inside and don't reopen and the economy crashes, or we don't stay inside and we reopen the economy and the economy still crashes. I think more lives will be saved if we stay inside. So that's
the economy is going to crash one way or the other, and that was already confirmed because of who's the president and his policies. That's just the reality. It had nothing to do with the COVID-19, but now with COVID-19, for damn sure we're heading that way. There was this headline based on a Casper Star Tribune report by a Cambridge University journal. The headline was that study reveals economic benefits of social distancing ultimately outweigh hit to the U.S. GDP. So there's that for those who want to take that into consideration. More headlines. I should say this again. Visitors cheer as Jacksonville beaches reopen. They threw a party because the beach was opening up again in Florida.
Florida. Okay.
South Carolina to reopen public beaches, retail stores next week amid the pandemic.
Why?
Yeah, Marco Rubio says country must prepare to go back to work and expect more virus deaths. In translation, I'm sorry, but the economy doesn't care about your dead family members. Is basically what I'm inferring from those comments. Very, very scary. Daily Beast. Officials dumbfounded as Florida beaches reopen 3 days after deaths spike. In our local community here, which Peter and I reside, Imperial Valley, here's a local headline. Easter brought spike in COVID-19 related cases at El Centro Medical. Our positive cases for coronavirus in our local community was 79 before Easter. After Easter is now at 216. So you see what happens when people just are flippant and don't obey, you know? I honestly can't with this. WWE deemed an essential service in Florida. That's a literal headline.
Okay.
What do you say to that? I mean, that's not fake. That's a CNN headline right there.
What's his name? Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother. Mm-hmm. He put a picture of this lady with all workers are essential workers, and he wrote, as somebody who plays a raccoon in a movie, I can assure you not all workers are essential workers.
Yeah, it really isn't. From The Hill, poll. 65% of Americans say Trump did not take coronavirus seriously enough initially. No shit. Here's a headline by Newsweek. Kentucky reports highest coronavirus infection increase after a week of protests to reopen the state. So basically what it said, that because an entire week of people out there protesting the lockdown, they had their highest rate of infections. Gee, I wonder if there's a correlation there.
I doubt it.
No. Italy sees fewest coronavirus deaths in a week. So, again, slowly Italy's beginning to somewhat turn a curve over. As we mentioned before, Governor Kemp of Georgia says businesses like gyms, barbers, hairstylists will be allowed to reopen Friday, April 24th, theaters and restaurants to follow Monday, April 27th. And then I basically made a social media post saying that the governor might as well have just signed their death certificates. President Trump tweeted, "It is amazing that I became president of the United States with such a totally corrupt and dishonest lamestream media going after me all day and all night. Either I'm really good, far better than the fake news wants to admit, or they don't have nearly the power once thought." This as, what was it now? Oh yeah, 47,000 people have died. Dr. Fauci says easing lockdown restrictions measures too soon will lead to a big spike in coronavirus cases. The Boston Globe is printing 16 pages of obituaries every day. California becomes the first state to recommend coronavirus tests for people without symptoms. So something we should have been doing weeks ago. They're going to begin testing people who are asymptomatic.
Damn, that sounds like a good idea.
I know, right? Study finds people who watched Sean Hannity were more likely to die from COVID-19.
You know what's funny? I think I saw that the one you're talking about, they did the test. I only read the headline, so maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That they had measured it against Tucker Carlson's audience.
Right.
And Tucker
another Fox News program for those who are not aware.
And Tucker Carlson, who's like basically a white nationalist, but he took the COVID like slightly more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So his audience members were slightly more slightly more what's the word?
They were more likely to take it seriously.
Yeah, and they got slightly less infected.
Right. That was a literal analysis that was done in this report here. And then at the end it said polls have similarly found that Fox News viewers as a whole are far more likely to believe the threat of the virus is exaggerated. Another poll showed that Republicans in general were less likely to change their behavior in response to the threat than Democrats. So that's the real time impact that Fox News is having. North Carolina holds lockdown protest after state records highest single coronavirus deaths. So literally, as in the state, the cases of deaths are at the highest they've ever been. More lockdown protests are happening. And then this one, I think you were listening to it, Peter, before we recorded today, and it's making the rounds. Anderson Cooper just flabbergasted because he had, I think, the mayor of Las Vegas on his show today or yesterday. And the headline is, exacerbated Anderson Cooper grills Las Vegas mayor over plans to reopen casinos during the pandemic.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And if that wasn't enough, one more thing here for our local Imperial Valley. Imperial County is looking to begin planning the reopening of the economy. They're considering opening parks by the end of this week. They will work in tangent with the Imperial County Health Department.
Whoa, oh God, okay, now I'm mad. What's the number currently of infected where we live?
216 positive cases, 6 deaths now confirmed.
And it's not slowing down. In fact, it's spiked like
crazy. Because of Easter. It says here, however, county leaders are considering opening its outdoor recreation areas, such as parks and golf courses, with limited access. They expect to make a decision on the park access by the end of this week.
Honestly, it kind of, at a point, it kind of feels like just like, wow, like I'm gonna get this. Like there's nothing I can do. Everyone's just sort of resigned themselves to like, well, everyone's gonna get it. Who cares? It genuinely feels like that. Like it's crazy. It's so crazy.
It you know, I think I can speak for all of us, and I think you can also even feel it in Peter's frustration, is that, you know, it just feels like it's not a situation where like everything that could go wrong is going wrong. It's like every wrong decision we could make is being made right now. And I mean as a country, as a government, as a society. You're right, Peter. It's horrible because not everyone is doing this, and I seriously hope they don't do that. But it almost just feels like, can the people who are in charge of our country not understand that this is going to result in a much bigger disaster than we are already in? Like, if all of those things that just that we read happen, more people are going to get sick and more people are going to die. We've been in lockdown for a month already. And this is the beginning. We all understood that. Mm-hmm. But it almost just feels like we're in a helpless situation where, like, we can see the Titanic is sinking, like, a year in advance. And yet, because we can't get off the boat, the people who are steering it are willingly going to hit the iceberg. And they don't care. And I'm supposed to be okay with that? I'm supposed to like have a discussion where we don't mention the political leaders who are making these decisions?
Yes.
The mayor in Las Vegas is an idiot. She's an idiot for opening up the fucking casinos. the casinos. Movie theaters and restaurants. Every public event, high-profile event in pop culture was canceled for a fucking reason.
Right now, my parents...
Because the Comic-Con. Comic-Con was just canceled over the weekend, which it should have been canceled weeks ago. But, like, who's going to want to go?
My parents were supposed to go to Oktoberfest this year, and they just found out that it got canceled. In September. So, I mean,
they literally said, like, mass gatherings, like your Disneylands, your football, baseball games, most likely not till 2021.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that if it means people are not going to die. If it means that we'll get to 2021 one day, and this will be behind us. But if it means that we have to be indoors, I'm okay with that. I'd be more okay with it if we had a functioning government that would do what any sensible other government would do, and it would be halt all payments, halt all rent, mortgages, bills, even for the corporations, fine. If we were in a situation where everybody was covered, nobody would be complaining. Well,
there's always complaint.
President Trump's followers, notwithstanding, majority of people would be more than fine if they were guaranteed they weren't going to, be crushed under economic depression because of all of these reoccurring payments. I literally just saw, like a day ago, that the household that I'm in got a billing statement, and I'm like, dude, that shouldn't be happening in the middle of an emergency.
Yeah.
That's the last thing people should be concerned about. And we're supposed to be okay with that? Are we going to let ourselves, be told by these idiots marching right now that only they have the right to be angry? Only they have the right to complain about everything? But whenever we complain about things... But when we complain, we want our country to be better. We want our people to be better. But when we complain about wanting healthcare for everybody or a better economy, we're told that we're socialists and communists and we're traitors to the country, and we're supposed to let ourselves be okay with being pushed down like that?
I have a friend who was debating whether or not to go get tested because they don't have insurance.
Is she sick?
No, but they came in contact with somebody who they think might have it. But yeah, like, that was, like, the debate. Like, like, that should not be happening right now.
People shouldn't have to pay to get a test for a virus, which, if we're going to be open about this virus, it is just about the scariest thing. There is so much we don't know about it, and what we do know, it is horrifying that this virus is so random in terms of what kind of symptoms you get. You can get anything from, like, abdominal pains to diarrhea to pink eye to
somebody just got their leg chopped off because of it.
Right. Like, oh my god, pneumonia, brain damage, heart damage, lung damage. Like, holy fuck, it's like it feels like somebody put a cocktail of how to extinguish the human race. That's how scary this shit is. I'm sorry if this got dark, but like we use this podcast to vent out our frustrations, and I think all of us here are just at a point where we just can't even anymore. We just can't. Like, of course, we're prioritizing our lives and the lives of the people who we hold dearest. But if like, I just feel like every single day people are doing these insane activities, I have to keep prolonging the date by 2 weeks to a month longer of us having to stay indoors because of their stupidity. When we once thought that August was the best case scenario, fuck it, not until the end of the year because of the idiotic actions of these assholes. The blatant disregard for human life is perhaps the most disgusting thing that I have seen, on display these last few weeks by fellow human beings. And I can't think of anything more heartbreaking than that they'd be so okay with people just dying because of their, I need a haircut. But they're okay. But they complain. They complain that other people who don't agree with them are critical of the police officers who beat black people for just protesting that they want to live. And I don't know, like, for once, I just wish that they'd get some kind of, like, I don't know, reciprocated actions done to them. Like, I wonder how much they would be complaining if the cops were sent to them and they were beaten up for protesting and being stupid. Because if anyone deserves to be beat up, it's them. Come on. It's not just, I think somebody put it this way. You're literally committing suicide, and you're kind of a suicide bomber by going to these protests because you are willfully going to get other people infected who may die. Like, the legal ramifications of that, I think, are pretty interesting. But that's what is going to happen by you going out there and protesting this. Don't do that. I beg of you, don't do that. And I'm just so... I mean, I have to laugh about it because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. Damn, I mean, that's just the truth. It's just so sad. And it really is sad how many people have died. 47,000 people have died needlessly and pointlessly because this country and its people didn't take the situation seriously enough, and still isn't taking the situation seriously enough. And you have to ask yourself, how many people are going to really die because, not because of the virus alone, but because we as a country failed to function on any level. We as a people failed to function on any level. So, anyway, let's move on to a more rosy conversation. So how are you guys doing this week? How you been?
Well, I was fine.
Until...
Then I heard a 45-minute rant on...
Has it been 45 minutes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's been 45. It's okay. But yeah, so talk about anything noteworthy that happened to you this week, and like what projects have you been doing to keep yourself busy? How your family's doing? How's your mental state?
Well, we know yours isn't good.
No. It never is, really. That's why I do this show.
Moreno, what have you been doing?
I mean, I feel like this week was kind of hard, and it's only like the third day, but but it's just this whole thing with the virus, like it's kind of getting closer and closer now. But I mean, so far everybody is fine, but like there's been instances where like people that I know have been affected by it. So that's been kind of difficult to process, but I started 2 shows, so that's fun.
What are the shows?
One of them is called Warehouse 13. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's a sci-fi show.
Okay.
It's basically like, it's like, it's not like really like the government, but it's like the secret like government thing, where they go out into the world and like they capture artifacts that like have like special abilities to like hurt people. So like, for example, there's one episode dedicated to Alice in Wonderland, and it's the glass mirror. And Alice is trapped in the mirror, but it turns out that Alice is like, the mirror was created to trap her because she's evil. So it's just like, it's like things like that. So it's pretty fun. And then today I started the show Hunters on Amazon, which is...
What?
Is it Hunters or Hunters?
Hunters.
Is it the one about the Nazis?
Yeah.
Oh, the one with Al Pacino.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I heard it was fun.
It's so good. Like, it's so depressing, obviously for reasons, but like, it's
for reasons.
For reasons. But it's so good. Like, it's really, really good.
I don't have Amazon Prime.
I mean, you just ask and it's yours. I can give you the login if you need it.
Oh, I'm gonna order so much shit.
Never mind.
Oh,
Never mind.
What if I just put stuff onto your
so you
your
can buy it
wish
later.
Yeah.
And then what? I just order it for you?
Who was it that had like the Amazon Echo? We went to someone's house and they had it.
You mean Kyle?
Was it Kyle?
Or was it Nettie and Eric?
Oh, I think it was Nettie and Eric. Cause remember we kept fucking with it.
Oh yeah, you kept like, hey, well, is it Alexa? Hey Alexa, order
this, order that. Yeah.
Yeah.
She got mad. What was I gonna say? Yeah. No. That sounds like a good show. I'd probably want to check that out. So those are the 2 shows you've been watching. Warehouse 13. I remember when it showed. It didn't seem like my kind of thing. Like I remember when it originally aired on Sci-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come off like my kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, this is actually like the second time I had already seen the show, but I'm rewatching it.
It's a rewatch.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cheesy. It's a sci-fi show, but like
it seemed very Doctor Who like.
Yeah.
I'll say. So.
What's wrong with Doctor Who? Doctor Who's great. I love Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, more like Doctor Who cares. But
you literally used that same joke in 2016.
Yeah, I know. It's about a circle, okay? Circle of life.
Oh, okay.
It's about what does George say?
George.
Yeah, George Lucas.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It's the poetry of it. Yes, it's beautiful. I actually wrote down some of the shit that I've been doing. Let's see.
It's been a number of things. Yeah.
I saw the 14th season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's a fantastic show. All of you should be watching it. There's 14 seasons.
I've seen the show,
and they're all on Hulu. It's easily one of my favorite shows of all time.
It's enjoyable, yes.
I saw the first 2 new episodes of What We Do in the Shadows season 2.
Okay.
I honestly, because I was having this discussion with Kyle the other day,
mhm.
I didn't even realize season 1 had aired. I thought they
Yeah.
were just about to air season 1.
No, they're airing season 2 right now. But it's really good. It's funny. Because it's funny, I don't think Alexis will like it.
Me?
I
which
love
is,
funny.
No, the other one.
Oh.
I love What We Do in the Shadows.
Hmm.
In fact, that may be an upcoming audio commentary.
The show or the
So-
movie?
The movie,
Oh,
the
okay.
movie. I haven't seen the show, but the movie is great. Yeah.
Oh no. You know that'll be a headache.
I mean, you don't have to participate in it if you don't like.
I'm just
But
saying, quotes are gonna be thrown out the
That's
fucking
every show
wazoo.
ever. That's every show ever. Come on. you
Some
think I don't know.
some do it more so than others. That's all I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
What else? I watched Friday the 13th, The Blob 1958, and Fantastic Planet, it's an animated film from 1973. Yeah. I don't know. I like movies, so I watched those 3 movies. And I've been playing a lot of the Friday the 13th video game.
Ooh, Animal Crossing.
It's a lot of fun. You do a lot of Animal Crossing?
I deleted my game and restarted.
Why?
Because David played first, and like if you play in the same console, you only get 1 island per console.
Oh, that's bullshit.
It is.
Okay.
It is. And so when he played first, like he was the one to get to do like all the construction and all that stuff. And so I was like, I want to do that. Like you play it less than I do. And so we restarted it.
So you guys are sharing an island?
Yeah.
Oh, how sweet. The Friday the 13th video game is really fun. It is basically it's an online multiplayer. So like it's you and like 8 other people, and 7 of you are camp counselors, and you're running around a crystal lake trying to escape, while one of you plays as Jason, and you run around and try to kill everyone before the time limit is up. It's a lot of fun.
I feel like that's the only type of game that you can do.
What does that mean?
Is it like those horror games, like where they pop out of nowhere?
Well, that's the thing though. A player plays as Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and as Jason, you have like the power to like teleport to like where the counselors are. If you scare them, quote unquote, then like you become stronger and shit like that. And the counselors have to work together to find like the parts to the car to try and escape, or like parts to the boat to try to get out through the lake, or just survive long enough. But it's really hard to survive. And playing as Jason is a lot of fun. Especially, it's really fun when like the other people are mic'd, because like they're there like in the cabins trying to like strategize, and then you fucking pop in out of nowhere and they're like, oh fuck, and you know they try and run off, and then you grab them and twist their head off. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
It's especially funny because it's like when a lot of little kids play, because they're like 10 years old, and they're just the shit that comes out of their mouth is hilarious. But no, yeah, that's how I've been passing the time. So yeah, that's what I've done. What about you, Mr. Alexis? What have you done?
I've, on the film side, I've been continuing my Spielberg rewatch and then subsequent first viewings of new movies that I hadn't seen from him. So I rewatched, not all of them because he didn't direct all of them, just the first 2. Jurassic World and then Jurassic Park.
The Lost World. Okay.
And then the Lost World Jurassic Park.
That's San Diego in the Lost World.
Mm-hmm. I am forever in love with Jurassic Park. It never ceases to just amaze me. Like every part of it. And even the things that I really do appreciate the older I get that I didn't really care for, obviously, as a kid, is they do have pretty interesting, like, philosophical discussions, like in the first part of the movie, for sure.
Oh, it's easily the most interesting. Like, to me, Jurassic Park is very much a lightning in the bottle film.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no matter how good it just seems like every other sequel, I've enjoyed most of them.
Most except one. One I didn't enjoy.
One I didn't enjoy at all. Oh shit! Are you talking about this? Is she talking about the same one as us?
The last one?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't watch that one at the movies because I saw the first one, but then this last one, I was like, I think I like had forgotten that it came out, and so I told David that we should watch it. I was so mad by the end of the movie because I thought it was so stupid.
I was numb to it. It's one of the only films that I would watch and I would feel nothing. I was nothing.
Angry. Like, I didn't understand. No, it was so stupid.
It's crazy to me because I grew up, I loved dinosaurs, I loved Jurassic Park, and like I always enjoyed The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3. Even
Jurassic World.
Even Jurassic World, I'm like, this is dumb, but it's fun, you know? But with that last one, it's just like, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop.
It's doing like the Transformers thing.
And it's just boring. Now the next one they're making, I think, how should we say it? Is gonna.
I think it may just be crazy enough where it could be fun.
Yeah, like it's so crazy. It like wraps around to being really stupid, but like, it's, to me, there's like a curve where it's like dumb, so it gets shittier, but then it gets so dumb that it drops down to great. And I feel like the last one, Fallen Kingdom, was like ascending. So it was really dumb, but it wasn't dumb enough to be like great, like really funny shit. I feel like the next one, especially with where they tease they're going with it, is gonna be like, it's gonna be there because it has potential
to it. I gotta be honest with you. It almost has like a Planet of the Apes kind of feel, where like the dinosaurs are going to fulfill the extinguishment of the human race.
But it's so crazy to me because it's because Colin Trevorrow, he is dead set on just sort of having it where it's like, well, you know, dinosaurs just kind of exist all around us. It's like a regular thing. And you would think like, okay, you know, they're sold on the black market. Maybe you see them at zoos and stuff like that. But he's like, well, no, you know, it's just you go for a jog and it's crazy shit where it's like, well, I go for a jog in the park and a velociraptor might chase my ass and kill me.
Oh no!
Like it's that kind of shit where it's just like, well, you know, we got to be careful walking to school because a pterodactyl might just live. That's just life now. And it's like, oh, that's so dumb because it's like lions exist, but we don't just go like, oh yeah, there's a herd of lions downtown. We should kind of avoid it right now. But you know, that's life. We just gotta coexist with the lion. Like, no, we send in people to fucking execute the lions or remove them completely. Like, we don't live with them. But it seems like they really are dead set on the idea of like, well, no, we just coexist with the dinosaurs in the same way you might get like a shark bite when you go to the beach. You might get gobbled up by a giant ass fucking dinosaur if you go to the beach. Like, it's that level of shit, and it's like, oh, that's so dumb. I want to watch that because I want to just try to understand the reasoning for just not getting out, bringing in the fucking military, and just executing all the dinosaurs. Oh my god, it's.
Because, like, I mean,
is
the beginning of that horrible
like,
movie,
like Good Dinosaur type of shit, like.
Good Dinosaur made way more sense.
Maybe too much sense. The the opening scene of Fallen Kingdom with Jeff Goldblum saying, "Just let the fucking dinosaurs die."
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Just-
that's why it's like, even though I had fun with the other movies, Jurassic Park is just like, to me, it's one of those things where it's like, perfect film, possibly. Like, it's just so good. It hits all the elements, and I cannot possibly think of how you do a sequel or remake it or anything with Jurassic Park that's just gonna reach that level. Everything else, it's just dinosaurs are fun. Let's just throw them at the screen.
And Lost World, for its sake, it had its moments.
Mm-hmm.
It was, Spielberg directed it, so it was, some great set pieces there. But ultimately, it's just crushed by the weight of its predecessor.
Yeah.
It just cannot compare to it in any way.
But that's why it's so great when they still try, and they're like, hey, the first Jurassic Park was about something. Let's try to be about something. And it's like this, but like, what's interesting about the first Jurassic Park is that there's a genuine discussion, and I can look at all the point of views and go like, like I understand all the different point of views. In Fallen Kingdom, fucking kill those bitches. Like, no, why would I save the Why? What is a good reason for saving these dinosaurs? Like, none whatsoever.
All life is precious.
Yeah, but like, they theoretically, don't they already have like DNA of these dinosaurs? Like, okay, I don't know. I don't want to get into it. You didn't literally have to save these specific dinosaurs. You could have just gone, took in DNA samples, and then left the island and be like, deuces, sorry. And then you could have made new dinosaurs. No? Okay. I don't want to talk about Jurassic World. The third one though, that's gonna be fucking hilarious. Did they already come out for a name for it?
They did, but I forget. I don't. There might have been like a production name for it, but I can't remember.
Jurassic World Homecoming.
I saw the Spielberg. I guess you can call it a rom-com. The movie called Always.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Oof. Not good.
It doesn't work.
Oh.
It's okay, but every emotional moment, it's about this like it's actually a remake of an older movie of this pilot who dies, but his spirit comes back, but no one else can see his spirit. And so like he's supposed to help like set up his like widow.
Wait, is this
with
Ghost?
I know, that's what I was thinking.
No,
Patrick
or maybe
Swayze?
it might be. It's with Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter and John Goodman.
I mean, that definitely sounds like a fucking 90s cast, I'll give you that.
It came out in '89, I think.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was. They made this because Dreyfuss and Spielberg had wanted to make this movie for a long time since they were working on Jaws and Close Encounters.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like one of those movies where it's like you find out about it, or like you're flipping channels and you see it, you're like, what? Directed by Steven Spielberg? Fucking Dreyfuss? What? Why have I never heard of this film? And then you watch it and you go like, oh, okay, that's why I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I was like, because I was literally trying to find, reviews and about this movie, and I could find next to nothing. And then I saw it, and I'm like, well, yeah.
It seems like people were like, we like Spielberg enough to just pretend this movie doesn't exist.
It's not terrible. It's just. Okay. And then I finished yesterday rewatching the Indiana Jones trilogy, Raiders, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade, and those movies are so much fun. They're not my favorite Spielberg, but they're just great movies. They're just great action films.
Crystal Skull, when?
Probably tonight. Although I got to be honest with you, I am gonna watch it, but I almost kind of don't want to because like Last Crusade closed it off so well, and well, here we go.
I'm gonna be honest. Maybe I'm wrong because I haven't seen it in a while. But I've always been a bit of a Crystal Skull apologist.
Let me be clear here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like dislike the movie. I enjoyed it. It was my first Indiana Jones movie. Like literally Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Why do you watch the worst?
It's not intentional.
First?
It's not intentional. It just happens. Okay, take it up with God if you want to. It's not my fault. This is the way things happen.
I mean, I think it should tell you something about how the big guy upstairs feels about you. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe, whatever. I mean, you're the one that has an issue, not me. Anyway, the film isn't terrible by any means. I enjoy it as its own thing, but when you put it up as like with the other three movies, again, it just gets crushed under the weight of like how great those three were.
Yeah.
It just does. But as its own thing, I guess it's fun. It's serviceable. I guess.
Can we agree they should not make another one?
I don't care anymore.
I mean, okay, it might be funny to see because the dude's gonna be like fucking 80 by the time they make the movie, and it's like you can do Han Solo because Han Solo isn't that physical of like an acting job, but Indiana Jones was all about punching and climbing and shooting and running and it's like, what is he gonna do?
Harrison Ford's like, fuck it, I'll do it.
And break his leg again? Like, I don't...
It's happened, but he's done it before.
I guess, but I mean, he was already looking a little rusty in Crystal Skull. Like, I don't know. We'll see. I will say, I've always loved the beginning sequence of Crystal Skull. And the...
me too.
And the fucking... What's it called?
I don't remember that movie.
And Warehouse 13. Yeah.
Yes, I know what you're talking about with Kate Blanchett and like that whole opening. Oh, but also, there are parts of Crystal Skull that are very good.
What about Ready Player One?
That's on the list.
Oh no.
But not there yet. I'm going through all of them. So those are the movies that I've seen, but then there've also been the TV side of it. So I actually just finished finally watching, and this is going to be a rant. So strap yourselves in here. And a rant, not because like I, bemoan people for like loving this thing. It's more of a rant that why am I made to feel like such a crazy nut job for liking something that's of that quality, if not better, and yet the whole world doesn't even act as if it exists. If you know where this is going, feel free to tune out.
Thank God. Okay, go ahead.
The Mandalorian. I actually finished it today.
Oh, you finished
I had
it?
seen the first. Yeah. So I watched the first 3 episodes in 2019, and so I finished the Mandalorian today when I was watching the subsequent. Was it 5? That didn't feel like 5 episodes. So, I should tell you something. The entire time, I'm just thinking to myself, this is technically good? Like, there's some pretty good sets, visuals, action, effects, I guess moments, but why do I care? Or I guess the question is, why don't I care about anything that happens? At all. Like, I honestly, like, the best way I can describe that show, it is a Star Wars procedural. In the same way, like, you have, like, countless CSI shows or, like, Criminal Minds, crap like that. Which, if you like that stuff, that's fine.
I love Criminal Minds.
Yeah, and it's. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's those kind of shows are not like they're procedurals where it's like, well, you know what that's going to be, and this show just feels like the Star Wars universe featuring a fun cast of characters. And for most of the show, it just feels
it's like who's the guest star of the week?
Exactly. It's like who's the guest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It is aimless. There is no direction. It feels like a worse version of the Samurai Jack animated series, because Samurai Jack was kind of like that, where it's like there was a goal, but the goal wasn't going to get to the very end of the series. And every week there'd be like a misadventure or like a side thing going on. And as we've already established, that show it is not meant to function as a week-to-week thing. It is much more enjoyable if you just watch it all at once. But as somebody who did, I can even just say, even that wasn't that much enjoyable. There were some interesting moments with, especially the last 2 episodes, things were a little bit interesting with the Giancarlo, the actor, the Disposito actor who from Breaking Bad was very good in the role. He's just a great actor. There was some interesting, I guess, tie-in stuff, but
It's fine.
It's
even the episodes that people hated. Even the episodes that people hated, I'm like,
they weren't that bad.
I don't get how this is any worse than anything else. Like it's literally,
there was a couple stinkers. The Tatooine episode.
My point.
Was,
it wasn't any worse than the other ones. I gotta be honest with you.
So much worse. Okay,
it's because I don't care.
Uh-huh.
It's because I don't care fundamentally about anybody or anything in this. Okay.
Well,
every single episode felt the exact same way. Sure, I'm not saying that those episodes were like the best, but it's like it's not as if the episodes that are considered quote unquote better. It's not as if I could see the difference. I mean, damn it. It's like, and I do not mean to come across as somebody who hates the show. I think it was fine. There's some cool moments.
I'll put it this way. I feel like the first 3 episodes, if you take the first 3 episodes and like the last 2 and squish them together, it's more enjoyable. It's much more enjoyable. Because like the first 3, the first one, it's like he finds the kid, the Baby Yoda. Second one, he escapes with Baby Yoda. Third one, he decides to go off and escape. Change a heart, escape with Baby Yoda, and then that thread really doesn't pick up in an interesting way until like the last 2 episodes, where he goes back to talk to the whatever face the fucking Imperial people.
Exactly.
I don't remember their fucking names.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But like, I feel like the show, I don't think it works well as a week-to-week procedural thing, because each episode is like 30 minutes, and I think procedurals seem to work best when they're, especially live action ones, when they are an hour, because with each episode you're meeting whole new characters, so you need some time to develop
with
them.
CSI as an example,
yeah,
each episode is its own contained thing. There is no overarching storyline or narrative throughout the season. Usually not in a procedural. It's a one and done every single week.
Yeah. I really feel like you need that. You need an hour episodes, but they're not going to be hour episodes because that'd be too expensive. But so to me, the only time I was really able to like keep my attention to the story was when they were continuing the story from last week's episode.
And I also feel like that shouldn't be happening because they have such limited time.
Yeah, they only have 8 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't need 4 of them shouldn't be throwaways.
Yeah.
Or I think for me, 3 were.
Clearly, then the decision was made along the lines earlier in the production that they were going to just stretch it out, or it's just by design in which, like, this is going to be a show similarly to how Samurai Jack was, where the whole narrative, the one storyline will be told from the first episode until the series finale.
See,
and then in between there'll be all these little misadventures.
I thought that too, But then the last 2 episodes of the series, it's like, whoop, better season. Sorry, well, British series.
Well, I mean, whenever the show is over,
that's what I mean.
That's gonna come to its
That's
fruition.
what I thought. I thought like, okay, the first 3 episodes are just gonna set up sort of the whole thing of like, these are our characters now. Week to week, you're gonna see them on a different adventure. But then for some reason, at the end of the season, the last 2 episodes, it's like, no, scratch that. We're going back to having a mainline story. So then, again, if you're doing something like the fucking Clone Wars, where, I don't know, you have like 20 episodes a season, then it's like, sure, you can have,
throwaway
off episodes.
Yeah,
throwaway episodes where it's like, fun story arc with the droids going off doing some weird shit. Like, sure, you don't have to have it as one overarching story the entire time. But when you only have 8 episodes, like, why do I need to see them do fucking Seven Samurai 500th time with them?
That to me was my least favorite episode.
It was boring, and I didn't like the characters. They tried to make a romance that was so forced, and like, you don't feel it whatsoever. Again, it's tough when it's only 30 minutes. I didn't like the Tatooine one. The prison break stuff was fun.
It got boring though. I gotta admit, like the first half of it
felt really long.
But
Yeah,
that's why,
maybe.
because like, here's why. Because I know, late stage Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. joke that Peter always throws out. But this is what they did, because that was a bottle episode, and literally like most of the episode was them walking around the same hallway.
Yeah, I liked the Republic droids. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what you can. That felt really long, and it really shouldn't have been. Again, the show has its moments, but
to me, it really shines more though when it's like, it's because there's so little development, right? Because you need action. It's only half an hour. Your main characters are a stoic badass who barely speaks and a baby who doesn't speak at all. So it's like, you need all the time you can to develop them in some way. And that's why, like, the first 3 episodes, they really work for me. They're really fun. I liked seeing the fucking, what's they're called, fly in. The Mandalorians fly in. That was fun. Him, like, getting the baby. And they had nice little story touches where, like, when he's first in that 3rd episode where he's getting the baby, and like the baby's trying to screw off the knob, and he's like, fuck off, baby. And then after he drops him off and he's about to leave the planet with his money, he goes to start it and he thinks about the baby. And all of this it's all visual without telling you something. And at the end of the episode, when he's escaping back with the baby on his ship, he screws it off and gives it to the baby. It's like, oh, okay, cute little story elements visually. But you just don't get any of that when it's... Sorry. God damn it, I hit it again. You just don't get any of that when it's the bottle episodes, or just the throwaway 1 a week episodes. At the throwaway 1 a week episodes, it just feels like the baby's there, like they don't even use it. I don't know. Yeah, I would agree.
It's just like with the samurai episode or the Tatooine episode or the prison episode, my reaction was like, in the beginning, I was like, oh, great. So this is what we're doing this episode. Okay. I guess we'll go. And to me, it's just, it's not in more ways than any other show. It's just, it doesn't work in having like week to week conversations of it. Cause it's just kind of, the episode happens and then it ends. And then that was it. Like, I know that there were a bunch of like outlets that were, because Mandalorian, Star Wars, views, money. I understand it, but it's just like having a weekly. Let's say if we were to do a weekly podcast on Mandalorian, you just can't. We're gonna have 5-minute episodes?
It feels like each episode, especially the standalone, mostly the standalone, kind of revolves around one set piece, right? So it's like
yeah.
that's kind of the whole point of the show, and then they have dialogue because they have to, kind of shit. So it's like with the village one, it's like, okay, we're doing the Seven Samurai shit, and then you have the AT-AT Walker. Like they want to do that set piece, and that's kind of the whole episode. They wanted to do the prison break set piece, so that's kind of the whole episode. They wanted to see Tatooine, so that's the whole episode. The whole episode is just like, look he's back at the cantina. Oh, look, those are the sand people. And it's just kind of, don't care. Those are the droids from episode 1. Don't care. Please develop something. And it's like, because there are cool shit. Like the last 2 episodes were pretty good. I enjoyed them. There was some fun character stuff with Taika Waititi's IG-11 droid and the baby, and even some fun lore stuff. And it's just like, I just feel like I would give a shit about the show so much more if it was just one ongoing story, and not the week to week bullshit, because you just can't. It just doesn't seem like you can sustain it at 30 minutes. You can't. But I mean, people really, really love The Mandalorian.
But to me, it's just a reinforcement of many of the things, and this is what I feared. It's just a reinforcement that I'm just not in line in the line of thinking as most Star Wars fans, because this is otherwise bland. There were other issues. Like, you see things on the internet, right? So the I forget the actress and the character's name. Who was that character? Was like the main like female protagonist?
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune, yeah.
Speaking of Dune.
Speaking of Dune.
And we'll get to that. There were so many things that I've seen online of like Star Wars fans like showing her as an example of like, now this is how you do a real strong female character. And I think the post was like throwing Rey under the bus and all and Rose and all the people from the sequel trilogy. And it makes me just want to explode reading that crap, because like Cara Dune, no offense to the fans of that character, she's likable and that's it. And she's literally ripped out of a video game.
I feel like
there's nothing to that character, and she is designed to look a certain way.
I feel,
just keep that in mind.
I talked about this last time. I just don't like this trend especially in big blockbusters, and I talked about this. It's somewhat prevalent in Marvel, and I feel like people really want it in Star Wars too, where it's like
they're getting it with Mandalorian,
where it's just sort of this bare minimum of likable characters, and that's it. Like, people just want likable, and then they're like, okay, well, I like the character, that means it's a good character. And it's like, well, no, not necessarily. Like, just making a hero and making the hero kind of likable, and then that's all you do with them. Depending on the movie or the property, it can be fine, but if that's literally all you're gonna offer, it gets very boring. I feel.
But it just like it just goes to show you, the main point is, it goes to show you what it is that Star Wars fans are so like, they're captivated by this Cara Dune, who is, she talks, it's encapsulated in this word that I hate so much, badass. Oh, she looks like a badass. Oh, she talks like a badass. Look at her design. Oh, and she's also, I guess, hot. Like, of course, that's what we look for in like strong female characters. And like Rey, who literally has like a huge story and like goes through so much. And that's like, oh, but she's a Mary Sue. She can do everything.
Yeah, like, it's weird. I don't.
It's sad, is what
I'll
it
put
is.
it this way: like if I think, God damn it, you made me do this. Going to the Last Jedi, like you put this evil on me. I that's one of the I feel the complaints when it comes to Luke Skywalker is because Luke Skywalker for most of the film isn't likable. Like he isn't, but that's the point.
Yeah.
And I think people were like, well, Luke sucks. And I go, well, yeah, that's what makes his character so interesting. That's what's good about it. But I think they just rather him not suck than be interesting. And I feel like that's what it is with a lot of characters. And it's like they just want their characters to be
Good.
fun and likable.
Yeah.
Rather than be interesting or go through any sort of like interesting or challenging arcs.
Again, the clearest example is that's exactly what Poe and Finn were in Episode 7, and that's why they were changed in Episode 8, when they were given actual meaningful arcs and characters.
And it's like...
It's night and day.
and I think it also connects to people who are going like, well, that character made a dumb decision. And it's like, sure, but... Oh, here, I'll connect it to something else.
Real quick, though, this is exactly the kind of idiocy, like, because I was just doing a commentary yesterday with Moana, and literally Kyle, for whatever reason, brought up Ariel and why she's a bad character.
Yeah,
and
again?
I'm like, why in the middle of a commentary are you bringing up Ariel? And just to trash her. And it's like, well, it's because she makes selfish decisions, and like that's... I explained to him all the points you're going to make, Alexis, but it's still like, why?
Because she's a teenager?
She's a teenager. She's a 16-year-old.
She's gonna make dumb, selfish decisions. That's what kind of makes her interesting. Like, okay, let me defend the Father and the Son for you. Not the Holy Spirit. That's Mr. Spielberg. But Infinity War. A lot of people got really angry at what's his name?
Chris Pratt.
Oh yeah, Peter
Quill. Star-Lord.
Yeah. We talked about that. Yeah.
And it's like I wasn't in love with Peter Quill's characterization, but I never had an issue with what he did when it came to Thanos, and sort of that explosion of emotion and anger, and the way he caused them to lose. And a lot of people were like, oh, I hate it because he did something dumb. And it's like, okay, but just because a character does something dumb doesn't mean that that's necessarily...
They're a bad character.
Bad. Yeah. A lot of times, usually actually, the most interesting characters are the ones that make dumb decisions, and you examine why they made those decisions.
Well, in Last Jedi, look what happens. Poe, Finn, and Rey all failed, and one of the main criticisms that people threw at that movie was their plans were stupid and they failed. What was the point? And they call that bad writing.
And it's like, just because this is what I mean. I feel like a lot of people are more concerned with does every decision this character make hold up to the most tiniest of scrutiny, and are they likable?
And that kind of speaks to, like, I mean, you could say with every form of social media, but especially, like, Twitter or, like, cancel culture, like, you make one bad move. I mean, depends what the move is, obviously, but, like...
One comment you say can, like, characterize your entire existence in the eyes of many people. That's what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that's a bit...
There's similarities in that regard. It's that people just like look at the base level, and they're not like taking into account other things that make up the totality of the film, the writing, the point, a person. It's not like apples. It's not apples to apples.
It's basically a bit of a leap for me because I guess what my point with what I'm trying to say is, and I think all of you would agree, you basically have, that there's a difference between likable character and good character, and an unlikable character and a good, like, you can be unlikable and be a good character. You can make extremely stupid decisions and be a good character.
And the point is, mainstream audiences don't see that distinction that you're pointing out.
Yeah, it seems like maybe it's the way we view this medium now, but it seems like because of that, I feel like that's pushing films to be like a certain way. Like I feel like whatever next thing we get of Star Wars, it's gonna be it's likable characters and not much beyond that. You just give the very basic likable characters, and then you surround it with lore, a lot of lore and a lot of action, and that's basically what people want, I feel.
And like, look at this. So that last episode had some interesting character moments, some action bits, but the only thing people talk about that last episode is, oh my god, the Darksaber was pulled out at the last minute. And that's it. That's all that's discussed for months.
There's so much. I love Clone Wars. I really do. But there's so much from Clone Wars where it's just like, please stop. Please. I'm tired of it. Like, let's
I'm not going to
forward.
complain about Clone Wars. I'm going to complain about people's expectations. That's the problem.
You will never dare to.
Well, I'll complain about Clone Wars. I think that they should have just made it into a movie.
Well,
with the Clone Wars,
there's no disagreement here. Well, before we get to that, and there's a lot of things to get to, but fine. The thing about this Mandalorian thing is that there were even aspects of the show that I just found at times they were really just going hard to replicate what it feels like to be in a Star Wars, but it kind of came off. To me, there were moments where the show came off as people trying their hardest to pretend they were living in Star Wars. Whereas even in movies like in Rogue One or in Solo, like those felt like they were in the universe. And I don't know if it's because of the budget of the series or some of the locations. There were even some extras that like to me, when people were taken out of Canto Bight in Last Jedi, so where it's like, well, that's not Star Wars because it feels like too much like Earth. There are moments in Mandalorian where like the person is literally just, it feels like from their back, they look like if you were at a regular bar here on Earth. Like they don't even look like they're in Star Wars.
Yeah, I would maybe chalk that up to budget.
Well, if it's going to be criticized in other TV shows,
I agree.
Then damn right is this one going to be criticized here for it too. When they have $10 million as an episode and other programs don't have anywhere near as that, and in my view, they're made to be far more interesting. So I will damn sure has taken the task for this. And I'm not going to get a pass on that.
No.
Just to be clear about that.
I agree. The production value I thought was pretty great, but I agree.
Overall, yes, for a Star Wars live action television show, but there are moments where you see it, and it's not so much where like, oh, this looks cheap. To me, the bigger issue is like, well, I can tell this is just a setting that's really trying to replicate what it feels like to be in Star Wars. Whereas, like, and there are certain characters that were certain actors necessarily, like the waitress in the bar where they meet Cara Dune, or like maybe the person on Tatooine, where that didn't necessarily feel authentic.
It felt,
which is crazy to think.
I guess I would say it felt like a TV actors and actresses. I kind of get what you're saying. Again, I feel like this was diminished greatly though, like that sort of feeling when it was the episodes where it's just continuing the story. Yeah. Like the first 3 episodes, I actually really didn't get that feeling so much. They all felt really good. And the last 2 episodes too, I thought felt really good. But I also think that's because that's the ones where you have all your main actors and actresses, so they sell it. Whereas the other ones, again, it's like TV budget extras, so it kind of feels more like not as good.
Alexis, what about you? How do you feel about the show?
No, I agree. I think that the show was like super overhyped, and I fell asleep during like 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah. I still enjoy it.
Yeah, like it's fine. Like that's just it's fine.
It can be enjoyable. And in most cases, all of us found the show to be enjoyable.
Maybe I need to rewatch it, or maybe I need to rewatch Rogue One. But after I had seen it, I had basically put it as far as like the like side stuff. You mean like all the live action side stuff they've made for Disney? So like Rogue One, Solo, Mandalorian. I had this at the top. The Mandalorian.
No. I mean, looking at it now with fresh eyes, you can make an argument maybe for like a lot of the characterization and pacing issues and editing issues of Rogue One, sure. But the overall, nothing in Mandalorian touched the third act of Rogue One. Came close to touching it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm not prepared to make any kind of argument against you. Again, I'd have to rewatch both. But that's how I felt at the time, like directly after finishing the last episode. Maybe the second season will bring some good stuff.
It's interesting you mentioned that because Alexis and I had a discussion, I think a few nights ago, because we were talking about rumors about like them bringing in like Clone Wars characters again. Like, so there's rumors like Ahsoka.
Well, Ahsoka's getting her own show. I'm calling it right now.
But she was casted for Mandalorian. What I remember
first. And Alexis, you were saying that your issue was what again about Ahsoka being brought in?
The thing is, like how I said, I think the Mandalorian is fine, but I think that the show needs to stand on its own first before bringing in Ahsoka, because then it's just going to be the Ahsoka show.
Or more to the point, I don't want the only reason why I care about the Mandalorian is because of Ahsoka.
Yes. And
I mean, that's what happened with me in Rebels.
That did not happen with me in Rebels, because I liked all the characters. And in Clone Wars...
I didn't.
Well, I liked most of the characters.
Wait, real quick. Did you like Ezra?
He was fine, but like
Peter Martinez has this weird obsession with Ezra and the voice actor. I don't want to get into it.
I think he's easily
Let's not get into it.
Character. Okay, go ahead.
We have a season 3 review of Rebels.
It's hilarious.
Years ago,
It broke his heart.
Go look it up.
No, but like I'm talking about like freaking what's it called? Clone Wars. Like I feel like Clone Wars is my favorite like Star Wars thing. Like I think it's like The Last Jedi and then Clone Wars for me. And the reason is because it's like not just because of Ahsoka, like it's the story as a whole, it's all of the characters, it's like everything that represents. But yes, like Ahsoka is part of the reason why it makes it good. But again, it's the whole thing. And so I don't want it to be like, I don't want Ahsoka to bring the show like to be better, because then it's just going to be her show. And I don't think that that's right, because it has never just been about her, you know what I mean?
What I always liked about the Clone Wars was that it developed a lot of new shit, a lot of its own shit, a lot of its own storylines, and developed the characters in a lot of cool, new, and interesting ways. And you saw
interesting though to note though that in large regard, because Lucas was the creative force behind that series.
Sure. Point being, they did a lot of cool, new, interesting shit, and I kind of feel like ever since then, it just hasn't moved forward that much. And I know I'm gonna get shit for this. I don't give a fuck. I felt that way with Rebels. I kind of feel with it with the Mandalorian. It just, instead of taking the model of the Clone Wars and creating its own new, interesting shit, it just brings in Clone Wars characters.
I totally agree with you. Like, I'm not saying that I didn't like Rebels, because I did, but it was because of stuff that they brought, and it's just Clone Wars.
I liked these characters, but stop. Like, develop your own shit.
Yeah.
Just stop. It's like whenever they would do a new Star Wars thing and they would throw Darth Vader in it, and it's like, stop. Like, oh god. Yeah, and I'm not excited to see Clone Wars character. I like Ahsoka as a character, and I like Rosario Dawson. So I think I'd be cool, definitely more interested in like her own show. But if she has her own show, for sure, there's gonna be the live action Ezra Bridger, and I don't like his character.
Well, no, that's a separate thing. There's been pretty consistent rumors that in the fall of 2020, they were already going to launch the sequel Rebels series of Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra.
So I guess my question
That's
is,
separate from the live action Ahsoka show.
what will the live action Ahsoka show then be?
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll see when we find.
Because
They're still developing that series.
But that's the thing, though. If they're gonna run tangentially, theoretically, they're probably gonna air at the same time, right? Like
around the same time, yeah.
So, how the fuck would you do that? Because
I say it's either going to be in between Clone Wars and Rebels, or after they find Ezra.
Well, the show with Ezra will probably be between Mandalorian and Return of the Jedi, because doesn't like Mandalorian take place 7 years after Episode 6?
It takes 5 years after Episode 6.
Yeah, so I would assume because they go for Ezra immediately after the Battle of Endor.
Yeah,
or when the Empire falls.
So obviously the animated show is going to take place before the Mandalorian. I would argue.
Yes,
but so if we see what's her name, Ahsoka in the Mandalorian season 2,
right.
Everything that sequel show will have already taken place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't die.
Maybe or maybe not.
I don't.
Well, she's never going to die. That much we know.
To die. Oh my god.
That much we know about.
At this point, I want her to die just to get it over with.
She'll die when Filoni dies.
I don't even think. I think he'll put it on his fucking contract. Even if I die, Ahsoka lives on. Yeah, Ahsoka lives #forever. Yeah, I don't know. I'm tired of them injecting Clone Wars shit into everything. Like, but it has nothing to do with Clone Wars. Like, I feel the same way with like original trilogy shit. I'm tired of X-Wings.
Yeah.
I'm tired of
beyond tired of that.
Yeah.
I'm tired of Death Stars.
I'm tired of Death
It's 2020,
Stars.
and I'm still having to say I'm tired of Death Stars.
Yeah, it's not right. We should be way beyond Death Stars at this point. I'm tired of all of it. I just want new shit. And I don't want rebranded new shit. Because even though I really like a lot of the stuff with The Mandalorian, even the best stuff I like with The Mandalorian, it's like, there's still stormtroopers.
Yeah.
IG-11 is literally just IG-88. The Mandalorian, it's Boba. It's
the Mandalorians themselves were just Boba Fett.
Yeah, the entirety of the Mandalorians and their culture and religion. It's all because people can't let go that Boba Fett died. And by the way, I still have a $500 bet out there that they're gonna bring Boba Fett into the show.
I just never understood why this story needed to be told and why they didn't do, like, I know it's kind of going back onto what I was saying about Clone Wars, but like, why didn't they do the Siege of Mandalore?
Oh, way too expensive. In live action?
Yeah.
Way too expensive.
But even then, like, why wouldn't they do that? Like, in some form of way. Like, if it's a show or, like, I didn't really get that. Like, even if Ahsoka isn't in it, like, you know what I mean? Like, because that's, like, a big part of their story. I don't know. Whatever.
But they're doing the Siege of Mandalore.
The direct answer to your question, as far as it... Well, I mean, obviously, because Clone Wars is an animated show, and there'd be a lot of controversy if you just go to live action, I feel, particularly among me. But even then, I guarantee you, Disney probably spent more than they wanted to just to make it animated. The Siege of Mandalore, let alone doing live action. Like, I think I've heard that a normal episode of the Clone Wars to animate and make costs like $2 million.
Holy shit! Okay,
$1 million to $1 million, and if the Siege of Mandalore, which is basically the production value, was significantly upscaled from the regular version because it's been made to feel like a movie.
Uh-huh.
So you can tell how much more money they threw at that.
No, I mean you could easily tell like the differences between the episodes. And like I'm not complaining that we're getting it in Clone Wars because like it's I love the episode. Like I already watched it like 2-3 times, but like
I've watched it like 8 times. Fucking no, I mean it was to me. It was the most. I haven't been moved by anything Star Wars since Last Jedi, since this episode of Old Friends Not Forgotten, the first part of Siege of Mandalore. It was so emotional. I had to prepare myself to watch the episode. That's how great it was. For
it
me.
was fine.
It was beautiful. It was emotional. It was one of the best. Honestly, to me, one of my favorite things I've ever seen. It's amazing.
It was
great.
Fine.
It was not fine.
I agree.
It was.
You know what? I agree, Alexis. It wasn't
was
fun.
amazing.
It was not fun. Yeah, I don't. For me, the future of Star Wars content is looking kind of bleak.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the future is bleak. I mean, the first 45 minutes of the episode, and the only thing Star Wars was Rian Johnson, but he's not doing that anymore. So, the Rian Johnson trilogy that was at one point announced, but that's gone.
Yeah.
So
instead, we
Dune.
should look forward to Dune. Dune shall be our replacement for Star Wars.
Okay, I have 2 questions. No, just one question. Why is everybody complaining about it?
Who's complaining about it?
Like, why are people being like, oh, this is gonna fail. Oh, this is gonna suck. Blah, blah, blah.
Let me be clear about that. I never... People are saying it's gonna suck?
Yeah, it's like all over... Well, I mean, on Twitter at least, people are just like, too bad it's gonna fail. Like...
Well, there's a difference between sucking and failing.
I've expressed concerns about the financial prospects of this movie, considering that if you want to know, go online. Dune just released like a bunch of amazing photos, still images from the setting of from the location of the movie, and I got to be honest with you, it looks absolutely stunning. I've loved everything Denis Villeneuve has done. From Prisoners to Arrival to Blade Runner 2049. God, I just rewatched Arrival. I forgot to mention that this past week. Oh my God, is it amazing? Oh my God, was it? And the message of that movie.
That was one of the movies that we saw, and you were like, "Oh, let's just go watch this movie." I had no clue what it was.
I know, right?
You had no clue what it was, and we both came out like, "What the hell?" That was so good.
That was so good. That's right. That was one of those ones that we just like, hey, let's go watch a movie since we were living in San Diego at the time, and it was like, what's going? Like it was one of those mind blowing movies. Like when you finally see the full realization of what that movie, became. But like Denis Villeneuve is just one of the best filmmakers working today, bar none. And Dune is something that's just like him directing Dune is a match made in heaven. Go look at the photos. The only thing, and I feel it is a fair discussion to have, is the realistic financial prospects of its box office. And this is not even COVID-19 notwithstanding, because that's a whole different issue, even if they'll be open and how much people will be going to the movies at that point. The reality is people were bringing up the fact that deep thinking science fiction does not gel with the general audience. Look at the box office of Blade Runner 2049 and how disappointing, how crushing that box office was. We were supposed to get a Blade Runner 3. That was in motion, at least the plans for that movie.
Aww.
And that box office was like, not anytime soon. Right, Peter? Would you concur with that analysis?
Yeah, that film bombed pretty fucking hard. And it was
$15 million
an amazing
on its
film.
opening Friday.
Yeah,
it's bad. And it is an amazing film for sure. So like people think that's just, and again, it was a film that was directed by Denis Villeneuve. People are making those comparisons because science fiction, deep thinking science fiction, which again, people, I think the trick for the marketing people is to trick general audiences into thinking this is sci-fi fantasy, because sci-fi fantasy like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, that sells, but science fiction has a hard time selling.
but even then, I would have agreed with you like 10, 20 years ago, but today it's kind of, unless you're one of the big properties, it's hard to get big budget action, sci-fi, whatever film to be successful. It's just hard. Like, look at Alita, and look at
Oh my god, yeah.
I
It
loved
was
it.
visually stunning. Yeah, it was really good. And yet,
it made somewhat of a budget, but it just seems like if you're not Marvel, if you're not Star Wars, if you're not DC, if you're just not one of the big properties, you're not going to be a runaway hit in that way.
In most cases, even a hit. In the day and age that we're living in, look at even brands from last year we found were not holding up the time, like Godzilla. Look how bad that recent movie did.
Godzilla, it didn't. There were so many brands where it's like, this should be a foolproof, no-brainer, make money, and it just didn't. So with Dune, it has a lot of things going against it as far as making money. They are expensive films, so it has to be it needs to make big blockbuster level money. It just does. And I agree, it's all about the marketing. The marketing has to sell this shit. They need to market it like it's the next fucking Star Wars. Like, with the fun action of a fucking Marvel film. Lie to the audiences. Please just lie to them. Although it does have action in it. It is a giant, large scale science fiction epic, but it's more, how do I put this? If there was a scale from Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones, it would be somewhat in the middle, leaning more Game of Thrones.
Which that's pretty good.
Do you think the cast is gonna help?
That's what I mean. I feel like the cast can definitely help, because there's a lot of people that are in love with Timothy Chalamet, a lot of people that are in love with Zendaya.
Chalamet.
There are a lot of people.
Timothy Chalamet, not Charlemagne.
There's a lot of people that are in love with Timmy Turner and Zendaya. And
okay, hold on a minute. Can I just say, Timothy Chalamet is so captivating in anything he's in. Like, he wasn't even like the main thing in Little Women, but how great of an actor is he? Like, holy shit, he's great. And Zendaya is pretty good too, from what I've seen her. Yeah,
Tommy Charlemander is awesome. And Zendaya, she's awesome. So it's like, I could see people just.
And like other people are in this.
There's a lot of A-listers.
There's a lot of people.
just your two leading stars. They're young and they're hot on social media. Like they can. The fact that they're your big names in the movie as like leading it, basically, like that can go a long way in the marketing.
I'll put it this way: there's a lot of Reylo people, or Reylo type people. I can see gravitating.
At a bar somewhere, drinking their sorrows away.
I can see them gravitate towards, this is our love couple now that we're gonna, make all kinds of fan art about and fucking post everywhere. Like, if you can do that, I think that's a big thing. But then of course you have fucking Poe as his dad, what's his fucking name?
Oscar Isaac is playing Timothy Chalamet's dad, which, wow, some good genes.
His
right there.
Mother is played by, what's her name from the one with the hat?
Rebecca Ferguson.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know.
Yeah, because you don't see her because she's like covered up, I think, in the still image. But Rebecca Ferguson, who played Rose the Hat in Doctor Sleep, is
oh my god,
this
I can't.
cast.
Just got like more excited.
It's exciting, honestly. The cast is so exciting with this movie.
Aquaman is
playing. Oh yeah, I forgot who
Jason Momoa.
His sword master.
Thanos. Josh Brolin.
He's playing another one. So yeah, it's a really good cast. What's his name? Fuck. He was in the Thor films. He's playing Harkonnen, who is the sworn enemies of the Atreides, the House of Atreides. He was the scientist guy in the Thor films.
Oh, yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård.
I'm pretty sure it's him that he's playing the Harkonnen.
All my musical people. There you go.
Yeah, it's and when you put that on top of the fact that the director has never made a less than amazing film.
Oh my god.
Like, to me, it really is like a match made in heaven. Like, it's because he can do smart sci-fi and make it interesting, make the action great. You could see Blade Runner 2049 as sort of a test run of that.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer is doing the music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow. Of course, right?
Plus, the story itself is just really good.
I gotta be honest with you, though. It's like it's even more perfect than that, because you have what it seems like anyway, the complete support of the people at Warner Brothers, like where they know the potential of what this could be, and they're willing to spend the money to not just market this, but to support this. Because if you notice that when they did that Vanity Fair spreadsheet, that article, Villeneuve is saying adamantly that we're doing 2 movies for sure. That this is part 1, and we're doing a Dune 2 with this cast. Now that's for sure going to happen. WB wouldn't just let him say that. Like, they're planning on making this. I would say, if this is successful, more than just 2 movies.
I really think WB is trying to turn this into their moneymaker. They're going all in on it. They're spending the money, they're getting the talent. The fact that they have they are announcing everything with the Vanity Fair shoot and the releasing of images, very similar to shit you see again with Star Wars and Marvel when they announce the new films. The fact that they not only are they doing 2 movies, they said, first movie's the first part of the story and the next movie's going to be the second part, but they're trying to drop a series on HBO Max, executive produced by Villeneuve.
Wait, is that true?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
When we finish Dune, we have to discuss HBO Max, because I'm really excited about HBO Max in general.
I am too.
So a Dune series, really?
It'll be specifically surrounding the Bene Gesserit, which is sort of like these hyper intelligent witches within the society that sort of they're all about politics, so they're all about like breeding leaders and influencing. God, Dune is so hard to explain.
But it sounds interesting, though, all of what you just said. I'm
Paul's
intrigued.
mother is a Bene Gesserit.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah. And it's just apparently it's going to be about like how the society came to be, the Society of Bene Gesserits. Because in Dune there is no computers. There's like a law passed thousands of years before that you cannot make AI, like nothing can be made within the likeness of man. So humans become their computers. And sort of, so there's like these things called mentats that are basically human computers, and they're like they serve the different houses that lead the worlds, and the Bene Gesserit have similar powers and stuff like that. It's Moreno, I would recommend, I think you would like the book.
I'm actually gonna download it right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? Oh, shit. You were in real time.
I wanted to do it like a long time ago, but I just haven't.
Don't get intimidated by the first few chapters, because the first few chapters throw a lot of nonsense words at you. Like You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a lot of
Peter Martinez is writing a book, How to Read Dune, a guide to how to understand the world of Dune.
the first few chapters. Like I remember when I was young, the first time I tried reading it, I got like 2 chapters in, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like there's just so much nonsense sci-fi words. But then I came back like several years later, and I was like, oh no, like I understand. And then like once I got past the few first chapters, I was really hooked. And then I like
just one book?
devoured the fucking thing. There's like 6 books. There's like Dune.
Oh shit.
There's Dune, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, Chapter House Dune. They go off the fucking rails. They really do.
And to be clear with what we're talking about here, didn't Denis Villeneuve say that the 2 movies that he's planning is just based off the one book?
Yeah, it's based. The
book.
2 movies that he's doing are based off the first book.
Okay.
And there is enough material easily.
Oh my
in
god!
The first book.
This could be. This could be huge if this like goes
if
really
it
well.
hits
This
right,
It could be like Harry Potter level.
No, it absolutely could, because you have incredible source material, incredible talent in front of the screen, incredible talent behind the screen. Like this film, I've been gushing about it for a while now because like and I know you guys don't care about it, but it's like
No, I think
No,
I mean,
you didn't let me finish. I know you guys don't care about it, but it's like Lord of the Rings. Like before it came out, like to me, Lord of the Rings is like a miracle. Like it's so perfect. I love it. Or like Star Wars before Star Wars came out, like just leading up to it, and if you were capable of knowing what you were about to see, like that level of hype of like, I'm about to see some crazy shit, you know, that'll change everything. That's kind of how I feel leading up to Dune. It's just please spend money on it, guys.
And it might also, the stars may even align even more because we have to like look at when it's being released date. I think there is a lot of promise that it's being released in December. Yeah. I mean, again, COVID-19 notwithstanding for the moment.
I think that's a really good release date.
I think it is. And you know what? Now with COVID-19, I think its only competition might be Spielberg's West Side Story. I mean, for like the Christmas holiday season. I'm not sure what else is happening that particular season, but I think West Side Story, which again, musicals, they can be hit or miss depending on its box office appeal. But I would assume that's still going to be a draw because that West Side Story does have its fans.
West Side Story, Spielberg musical, yeah,
right. But I think if I'm Dune, I'm okay with that being my only competition.
It's not like programming a bit.
Right. It's not like that December where we had Aquaman, Into the Spider-Verse, Bumblebee, Mary Poppins.
Yeah. I also like that it's like 2 completely like ends of the spectrum, and it's two genres that don't usually get a lot of hype. So that's kind of cool.
I wouldn't be scared of it. Yeah.
West Side Story. Oh my God. Are they like celebrating that Into the Heights was moved to 2021?
Are they?
I mean, I would be celebrating because that would be its main competition.
But
not that the awards didn't matter at this point, but
was it going to be released at the same time?
Into the Heights.
Into the Heights was in like July.
West Side Story is a Spielberg movie, and Fox or Disney would want to have that as their main awards contender. That's how the politics work, right?
I see.
West Side Story would be compared to Into the Heights because they're both musicals, and it only is like one musical that gets like in consideration at the end of the year. But there might not even be an Oscars, so it might not even fucking matter.
God, I really hope there is. I want them to. Oh God. They need to do something because it's funny. It's too funny not to do something.
Well, we're seeing more and more movies getting the VOD treatment. They announced that Scoob, the Scooby-Doo animated movie that was going to go to theaters, is now going to go to VOD. So we're seeing more movies that were meant for the theaters being dropped.
That's pretty big too, because that film was like meant for them to like Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo still makes money. Yeah, you know. And it's like, it was meant for them to sort of open up their like Hanna-Barbera characters and maybe spin off shit.
Warner Brothers still has the property, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Okay. Because Hanna-Barbera is owned by WB.
I just realized they should really make a Scooby-Doo ride. That'd be fun.
They could replace it with the Simpsons ride.
Scooby-Doo. No, don't do that.
Which is also
like
weird
The
because The
Simpsons.
Simpsons is now like
That's
a
what I
Disney
mean.
property and it's at a Universal theme park.
I know. Don't do that. The Simpsons. I love
bring
the
back
Simpsons
Back to the
shit.
Future.
No,
There were
no,
so many.
I'm fine
We
with
can
the
do a
Simpsons
whole
shit.
show on Universal, just like destroying like beloved attractions from
real.
like Jaws to E.T.
E.T. one scared
Back
me
to the
though.
Future.
Like I was
That-
never a big fan of E.T. because it scared me.
All that tells you is that they've had a lot of awesome attractions. That's all it's telling me.
that are no longer standing,
Yeah, but they replace it with other awesome
like
shit.
Jurassic Park, and then it was replaced with Jurassic World. I haven't even seen what the new
It's so
Jurassic World
scary.
theme park theme attraction is it?
Well,
Oh.
because I don't like those things, but
Yeah.
But the Mummy
The
ride
Mummy
is
ride is
awesome.
really
I'm
cool.
so glad they haven't changed it yet. You know what? The Transformers ride is really fucking cool.
That's
I'm
what
I
I
have
hear,
not
yeah.
been to Universal Studios since I believe
Harry Potter.
where sophomore year.
Oh well, that's even
That was
before. Harry
before.
Potter
It was before
open, yeah.
Transformers. They were building Transformers.
So you've never been to the Harry Potter?
We were supposed to go
stuff?
this week.
Oh no.
Yeah, this is again happening in the week that we were supposed to go to Disney.
I'll say butterbeer, not my thing.
They,
That's
they
okay,
say,
because people
I mean,
really
I know
don't-
it's like
Yeah.
in Europe, but they say the one with in the Warner the museum one, the set museum thing. They say that one is really
I
good.
I got the cold version. I think I should have got the warm version. Yeah.
It's
Because the cold
interesting,
version
though.
seems like butterscotch soda.
Yeah.
An interesting parallel is that the thing that is, I think, almost unanimously not liked in its counterpart in Galaxy's
Is
Edge
the blue milk,
is the blue and green milk. People really don't like that at all, from what I'm
They
say it
seeing.
tastes
Like,
like
a lot of the
Fruit Loops.
YouTubers I follow. Not even like I think the blue
Like
milk
Fruit Loops,
didn't
but
even
like,
taste like anything.
Like with a Pepto Bismol like type of like feeling, which does not sound good at all.
It doesn't sound good. They should just make it like taste good.
And like I
know,
every
right?
time I go, I want to try it, but it's like $7, and then I'm like, what if I don't like it? Like it's such a waste. Like I could buy like maybe like 2 churros at that.
But it's just to say that you tried it. I'm gonna try it when they reopen the parks in 2025.
We should talk about there was some pretty interesting news that happened with AMC, right? That there was earlier this week, because last week we had talked about how they were going to go into bankruptcy, and it seemed like there was. Did you guys read that story that I shared a few days ago about AMC?
Yeah.
No.
Any reaction to it, Peter?
Not really. I mean,
Oh, I just opened up AMC, and the first headline that I wrote is that AMC Theaters is being sued by Florida landlord for not paying rent.
No.
Yeah.
That's so mean.
And they also just another headline here is that most movie theaters in Georgia are not going to reopen despite the governor's plans to reopen the economy in
Good.
Georgia.
because they just be losing money. What are they
yeah.
gonna show? Who's gonna go? Like, oh my god, you need consumer confidence, right? Like,
Mhm.
you can't. A lot like, I'm not, even if restaurants and all that shit were open right now, I wouldn't be going. Like, there's a lot of things even now that are open that I theoretically could go to, and I'm not going. It's just so much. It would be so much easier to just nip this whole virus thing in the butt before worrying about the economy.
So the thing about this is that the stock for AMC actually went up this week. Here from the Hollywood Reporter, with a new $500 million debt offering unveiled last week, AMC improved its liquidity. This is a quote by the analyst who is saying this. After our previous estimate that AMC had roughly 3 to 4 months of liquidity without any revenues, management confirmed that projection with a new estimate of liquidity that is sufficient through a partial reopening timeline and into Thanksgiving. The analyst remains optimistic for a late June reopening timeline. That's not happening. That's me inserting here. Even though AMC has historically operated with a 16% seat utilization year round, blah, blah, blah. They're getting, I think, a loan, 500 million, whatever. It looks like as if maybe things could be salvaged here. But since you brought up COVID-19 and going a little bit back to Dune here, all of these things already, like Dune, because of its inherent nature, has an uphill to climb, basically an uphill battle to climb. And in considering that we just mentioned, the stars and the support by the studio and its favorable release date, you have to wonder though what the impact of COVID-19 is going to be by the time December comes around. Which is impossible to predict.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's been ages since I last saw the light outside.
You don't go out for like walks
and it's
and stuff?
like I actually go out quite a bit because I have to work and like get groceries. Thank you for ruining my metaphor. But point being, it's just every time I'm like, well, let's see how close this is to being over. Oh, fuck, it's worse than it was before. Never mind. Because at least in some other countries, it's like, oh, the number of cases are starting to level out. There's less and less deaths. China's fucking reopening to a certain extent. Like, they've basically reopened China at the worst places where it took place. And with us, it's like everything's absolute shit. The amount of people dying is worse every day. So we're just gonna go ahead and reopen everything. Toodles, it's depressing, and it makes it really hard to determine how long this will go on.
Cinemark,
and at what point we can start
Cinemark
reopening.
has made a statement that they're going to be looking at July 1st to reopen theaters. And then there's this interesting headline here by CNBC of Cinemark offers a look at moviegoing post-coronavirus. The main idea here is that Cinemark, which is the third largest movie theater chain in the U.S., hopes to reopen its doors in public in July. With no major movie release until mid-July, theaters could play quote-unquote library movies, which are movies that have already previously been released in cinemas for several weeks. If social distancing restrictions are still in place, the company said it would either sell every other reserved seat in the theater or suspend reservations and just sell 50% of tickets per theater. Which even at that rate, it's hard for me to see people going to the movies to see movies that they can easily just stream or own. Unless, like, well, I say that, but like me being a movie fan, if they say they're showing Casablanca or La La Land or Endgame or Last Jedi in theaters, would I go back and see it in the theater again? I would, but I mean, under normal circumstances, not under.
Yeah. If we were at like I don't know, 4 new cases a day instead of 500, the death rate had plummeted. So it's like, okay, we're at the point where we're starting to reopen because it's like the number of new cases is basically obsolete. We have it cornered, quarantined, whatever. And then as the movie theaters were starting to open up, they're like, hey, as a way to get people back, we're gonna start some of the favorites. That's, I think, what they were gonna do in China.
Yeah.
But even in China, I don't think they opened up. I think they opened up the theaters and then they shut them down like the 2 days later.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know.
There was a potential risk of a second wave
Yeah.
coming, and they just like they didn't want to even risk that, so they just closed it down.
Must
which,
feel nice.
if only we had a government that cared about that.
Must be nice.
That's the thing. I feel even if we do everything and it's like that, and then it's like, okay, everything's opened up, they will not shut it down for a second wave. I think they would actively ignore a second wave.
Good luck, and then we'll all die.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So yeah, but movie theaters are just in general, not just AMC, but they're in a very precarious situation. There was also recent news that Fandango, which you gotta also think that they're also hitting some hard times because all they do is movie tickets. They actually purchased Vudu, the digital locker that we all share for our movies that we own in our libraries. They've been acquisitioned by Fandango, which is interesting because Fandango, they have their own version of Vudu already. As part of their, like, I think Fandango service or whatever it is. They have their own like version of Amazon, iTunes, media stores. So, and we'll see what they do with it. But just some interesting stuff happening in the industry. And before we move on to our conclusion, we should mention HBO Max has announced that they're planning on launching May 27th.
That's
We
so far
had some
away.
previous.
Just do it already.
I know, but we had questions if they were still planning on launching HBO Max, considering the crisis that's going on. But they're still going to go ahead with it. And I got to be honest with you, the library itself is great enough to be excited about, but the programming that is coming to HBO Max, just from a creative standpoint, is so exciting. And honestly, the thing that I'm most excited about is the Looney Tunes. I saw the trailer for the Looney Tunes, and oh my god, like that was the closest to what classic Looney Tunes felt like.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good.
No, I feel like, and this is WB, right, with HBO.
Right.
I feel like not to shade Disney again. I know I do it a lot. I feel like they're doing a better job, much better job than with Disney Plus.
Well, for
Disney
one,
Plus,
they're getting projects off the ground, and they're not having creative disputes, and they're not having an identity crisis. For one,
I feel like Disney Plus still doesn't really know what it wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really fucking it up, and that's fucking up like what projects get made, and because so far, if they didn't have the Mandalorian, holy fuck, like. I guess Clone Wars, but even then, it's like Clone Wars is definitely more niche.
Nobody was talking about Clone Wars until this last episode.
Yeah. In fact, I saw a lot of people bitching about it, and then this last episode, they're like, "It's the greatest thing ever made."
Yeah, like Star Wars fans usually operate.
Yeah, that's the way Star Wars fans are. But with this one, it's like the Elmo show, cute. Like that's clearly for young children. Right, and so you got that demographic, but Looney Tunes, that can reach everyone kind of demographic.
Yeah. And also just makes you wonder. Okay, Looney Tunes are Looney Tunes, and in my view, I haven't been exposed to as much as the classic library of Disney cartoons with Mickey, Donald, and Goofy as I have been with Looney Tunes. Like I've always been a Looney Tunes person at that point because I've just been more exposed to it. But you'd think that with Disney Plus, what HBO is doing with reviving classic Looney Tunes, you think that they would do more of that with Disney, with Mickey Mouse and Donald and Goofy. Like the fact that those characters,
they wish they would.
The thing is that they did, but it was on Disney XD or like the Disney Channel. Like it wasn't.
We'll move it over and do more of it.
It wasn't on Disney Plus.
Right. I will move it over and do more of it. I mean, they own Disney XD.
They're releasing, I don't know if it's a show or a movie, that Justice League Dark onto...
No, it's a show. It's a show.
It's a show. Okay.
J.J. Abrams made a huge deal with Bad Robot, made a big production deal, which, okay. I think my biggest pet peeve about the announced shows, because they also announced the Shining series, is why are you giving that to J.J. Abrams' people when you have Mike Flanagan, who, by the way, who directed Dr. Sleep? Mike Flanagan was working on a Dick Hallorann movie.
It's because they paid so much. So much.
For JJ?
For JJ?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you bought them, you might as well use them. put his ass to work. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna spend that much, you want to use it. And yes, I'm referring to J.J. Abrams. Yeah, I feel like the lineup has, for what they've what's gonna be available at launch and what they're gonna be doing soon thereafter. I feel like it's a lot, and a lot of interesting shit.
For one, we are all expecting, and I think I've had this discussion with David Francisco on this show weeks or months ago. The expectation is at some point, DC Universe, the streaming service, is going to be discontinued, and whatever programs like the Harley Quinn show and Doom Patrol are going to be moved over to HBO Max or absorbed entirely.
Oh, for sure. I think Doom Patrol is already being advertised.
Yeah, it's already been confirmed
HBO.
that it's moving from DC Universe to HBO Max before they even shut DC Universe down.
Just shut it down right now. Like, holy crap. But yeah, I don't know. But then what do you add on top of that? Like, all of HBO's other great programming? Because you get all of everything else of HBO too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's what's great about all of this is that, yeah, it's like, I think they made such a smart marketing move to brand this with HBO, because people know what HBO is. When you ask people about what properties Warner Brothers has exactly, it's a mishmash. You know, Warner Brothers doesn't have the brand that Disney has, but I think in this case they're using that to their advantage, because they're using the blanket of HBO to be their brand, because HBO Max is everything you already have with a normal subscription to HBO, but more. And it costs the exact same, by the way. HBO Max. So like, I don't understand why. I guess it is a marketing move to like convince people that it's worth just switching over, because it's going to cost the exact same thing, or maybe like $3 more. But like Alexis was saying, like, I really want to subscribe to HBO, but I told her that just wait for HBO Max, because you're going to get a lot more content for your
But
your
see,
buck,
now
basically.
I had to wait 2 more months. I should have gotten it.
I thought it was just one. Isn't it May 27th? It's still a
I
little over a
wanted to
month
get
away.
it like April 1st.
Oh. That didn't happen.
Nope.
That didn't happen at all. Oh, they also said that there's a Green Lantern show coming, right? What other stuff was announced? I would imagine at some point Harry Potter is going to get introduced as like a series.
Marauder show.
You know what's one?
Marauder show.
You know what's one thing though that sucks for them? That's that they lost. Like, I can't believe they lost. Because there's that Lord of the Rings show that's coming to Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah.
I don't care about that.
Well, I mean, regardless of that, I'm talking about the property itself is still pretty big, and the fact that HBO Max lost that to a competitor is pretty crippling. But you also have like the entire catalog of Warner Brothers stuff, and so I would assume that they're going to include, unlike Disney Plus, because they're not necessarily entirely uploading their whole like library on Disney Plus. I would assume that Warner Brothers is going to put their classic movies like Casablanca and Citizen Kane and all those other ones on HBO Max as well. Right?
Yeah, I think 100% it's going on to HBO Max. So, I mean, I feel like it's really worth it. I feel like there's I feel, anyway, that the content is there, anyway, for it. But, like, more so than any streaming service since maybe, like, Netflix, where it has both the television shows and the films.
Mm-hmm.
Just the content wise.
Well, it's interesting with Netflix because I think the reason why they got so big in the first place was because they had really good shows, and they used that to make more and more shows. The movies, they're still at a pretty hit or miss, but they're getting more and more consistent in terms of like great quality. Like 2019, had the best year as far as like Netflix original movies are concerned. So the quality is getting better for sure as far as the ratio between shows and movies on Netflix. But if we're just talking about this from like a clear set like brand identity and like strategy in terms of launching their streaming service, it definitely seems as if HBO Max is going to easily eclipse Disney Plus. If nothing else, for the simple fact they're actually going to get their shows made, and Disney Plus can't even decide what it wants to make. Also, one thing about that, so HBO is not something that you associate with like Looney Tunes or kids programs like Elmo, and they're still going to be there. So, I mean, Disney Plus, hey, I mean, just put all the ABC shit on there. Put Lizzie McGuire, Love Simon. Just do it. No one really cares that much.
I think they care. They're literally out here fucking shittily censoring all of their programming to ridiculous lengths. I mean,
is Titanic on there? I wonder why. I know.
Did you see that Splash movie? They edited the butt out.
Mm-hmm.
A butt.
Yeah. They just blurted over.
If you're not capable of like just a butt, like there's so much shit that you probably aren't going to be okay with having on your streaming service. If a butt is too much for you.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. Before we go, we should talk about a exciting new series of episodes that is coming to Red Spotlight.
Yes. Ultimately, we found that a recent programming has been severely lacking.
To the table. I know. There have been no episodes produced. On and Beyond has been really put on the shelf. I mean, from what I understand, there have been some talks behind the scenes to cancel the series. That's no joke. Kyle's talked to me that he wants to just stop it. So, Peter, you might want to talk to him. Spilling some tea here, but you might want to talk to him about that because he's not happy about that situation. So there have been some serious cutbacks.
Wait, why? Those are cool.
I know.
I know those are the best. That's the best programming. When I was talking about the shitty program, I'm talking about like recently, like the audio commentaries. You know, some of the lists we've been doing, just anything released within the last month, you know, severely lacking.
Okay, for those listening, Peter is obviously being sarcastic here because I think we can all
half of us didn't even go on this one.
Well, it's in general, as far as the list shows are concerned, we've been having a lot of fun with those. However, because we have been doing a higher volume of those kind of shows, it's made an impact in how we're doing this new series, in that it's going to be a series and not a single episode. So, Peter, please explain what this is going to be.
Sure. How do I explain this? It's just sort of like discussing our most influential films from growing up, the films when we were young that we saw that just sort of had the largest impact on us. And when I say like had the largest impact, it could be anywhere from this is the film I fucking wore out the VCR from playing a million times. VHS, yes, we're very old. It could be a film that it's like it fucking scarred me for life and I hate it now. Or it could be a film it's like I saw once and it just had like an impact on me where I never forgot it. I always thought about it. Just like that. The films that most influenced you growing up. Is it too broad? Do you guys get what I'm saying?
Well, I think the distinction for those of us who are going to be compiling these lists is that this is not necessarily a list about your favoriteest movies growing up. That's not what this is at all. This is about movies that left a lasting impression on you. And as how Peter described it doesn't even have to be a good feeling. It just had to make you feel something, basically.
Yeah.
So it makes it is broad, but I think that makes for a more broad discussion, much more interesting discussion, much more nuanced, where it's not just like us talking about why we like this or why, it's more of like, okay, this movie was big for me, and this happened.
Is why.
And this is why. This is what happened in my life because of what happened in this movie. So it's meant to be a much more of a deep dive into us versus the movies themselves, which is the point of this, and more to the point, why this is going to be 4 episodes, whereas we can have much more. We're not necessarily cuffed to having to speed through it in one episode, which would assuredly be 3 hours, if not 4 hours. If you think this episode's long, whoa. I mean, that wouldn't compare to what this series would have looked like if it was one episode. And to be quite frank with you, all of us can get pretty drained after a show that approaches 2.5 hours.
Like this one.
Like this one. Although the conversation is exciting, I mean, afterwards we can just be like, oh my God, thank God it's over. But yeah, so the way that this is going to work out is we're going to have it as an episode per week, and each episode is going to feature one panelist's list and how it works. So for example, if I were the first person to unveil my list, and it could be anywhere between 10 and 15 movies, it's not a ranked list, so there's that. And the movies are announced at the top of the episode, and then the group just then proceeds to have a natural, free-flowing conversation about which movies to discuss first and why or what impact they made on you per se, or why it's even on this list. So it's meant to not be one person reading off a list for an hour, saying why they like this or like that, and then moving on to the next. It's meant to be much more of a natural conversation.
Got that, Moreno?
And I should have mentioned the people who are going to be featured on the series is myself, Alexis Moreno, Peter Martinez, and Kyle Lira.
No Monsters University allowed.
Well, we should talk about the specific years in which we grew up, because that also applies to it, is between 1995 and 2007.
Well, okay, but it's kind of confusing when you put it that way, because it doesn't have to be in between.
I didn't say it had to
years.
be released. I'm saying that the years that we grew up was between 1995 and 2007.
Mm-hmm.
The movies that we pick are not conditional on their release dates. Release dates are irrelevant. I understand how they can come across. I'm saying that you pick any movie that came out in any year, just as long as
Watched it.
you experienced them in those years in which we were growing up, which was those years very much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, in other words, the movies that we pick do not have to be released between 95 and 2007. It just means that we had to experience them in those years, because those are the years that we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it means.
Yep.
So, and the challenges, as what Peter and I discussed, is for some of us Disney enthusiasts to come up with movies that are not necessarily
Do we have to
made by the
rewatch
mouse.
movies? Like, because I just thought of one that, like, I did not like. But I don't remember.
But did it make an impression on you? Then that counts.
God.
That's perfect. You don't have to
No,
like
no.
them.
Like, do I have to watch it? Because I don't remember it. Because it's been so long. But I used to watch it all the time when I was little.
I mean, if it helps you discuss it, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. Like, when I first mentioned this to Alexis, as this idea, his whole thing is like, I've only seen Disney films for my entire childhood.
That's not true. What I
well,
said
that's
was...
what you thought. That's what you thought.
No.
I understand, though, because it's kind of hard. Like, that one, I just thought about it. And, like, the other ones have been Disney.
This is why this is going to be an interesting showcase for us, because it gets to really explore how we thought back then. At that age, most of the movies that I would see would be exclusively from Disney. And when I answered your question it was the Disney Renaissance films plus Toy Story that were the movies that I would watch the most and would be among my favorite movies from those years. That's what I meant to say. And of course, we had a whole discussion, I think, that night, and we actually found movies that weren't Disney. So a bunch of them, actually. But it's like, if you're...
There was some disagreements as well.
On what was considered Disney?
No, on certain, quality of certain films and choices as to what we would watch at that age.
Well, we're all different people, right? And again, this series should help to illuminate that a little more, so that while we do have commonalities and why we do, we do associate ourselves as friends, we've led very different lives, and that should be pretty clear.
Snowflake.
Oh my god.
I'm original. There's no one else like me, okay?
Alexis, do you have anything else to say?
I'm excited.
Good. I'm excited too. We get to have content for one more month. So, yippee. We got that going on. Anything else to say, Peter?
No.
Well, with that comment, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's show. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Alexis, for being here. It's another pretty interesting conversation. Second week in a row. Maybe we can do this once a week. We'll see. Just have a catch-up week to vent out our frustrations, and to kind of, maintain our sanity through this pandemic. Of course, as always, the show is brought to you by COVID-19. We have much more content on our YouTube channel. We're literally uploading a new video every single day. Get
a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have audio commentaries on Knives Out, La La Land, Moana coming at you. And we might even re-upload some old episodes just to...
no, please.
I mean old, not the beginning. I mean 2017, 2018. Not
okay.
I didn't mean those episodes. I would never re-upload those episodes ever again.
Oh, thank God.
I meant with standards. An episode with standards, I should say. Clarify that. And of course, every Sunday, every Thursday, we have a new podcast on Red Spotlight. Every Monday and Friday, check out for new episodes of Vanity Fair. Probably Clone Wars coverage coming at you weekly now with Fantasy Fair and more stuff in that nature. I think Kyle also had a new series for Fantasy Fair that he was developing. No, let me clarify because Peter gave me a look.
I was about.
Let me clarify. Peter
I was about to say.
Let me clarify what I said. What I meant to say. Kyle is not developing a new podcast. Kyle is developing a new series in Fantasy Fair, similarly to how we're doing this new series with Red Spotlight. So, just to be like a limited series, I think Kyle was planning on doing pretty soon. So, keep an eye out for all of those. At some point, To the Table will come back. I keep saying that. At some point,
let's just do one.
It should come back.
I
know.
I don't get what are you guys waiting for? There's nothing to do.
Well, it's because Peter is the creative force on that show, and he had sent out literally lists of movies, and we just never got to watch them. And so I feel that we have to follow that order, even though the months have been shot at this point. Because we did January and then we just stopped. As soon as we hit February, so we didn't. He had February and March planned out for movies,
and then COVID-19 hit.
Well, Bernie Sanders hit first of all.
Oh yeah, Bernie Sanders hit, and then I got depressed, and then COVID hit, and then I got more depressed. So it will be back. Real quick, did you watch February's films?
I haven't, man.
What were
I really
February's
haven't.
movies?
And
I gave him Secondhand Lion, and I think The Majestic.
Secondhand Lion. I think that's the first time I remember hearing that name. But it's not.
Have you heard of these
What
films?
what were they?
Moreno? Secondhand Lion and The Majestic. Okay. We'll watch them. If you watch them, we'll do the show. We'll do the show.
Yeah.
Especially because February was supposed to be Feel Good February.
And if that's the case, hopefully then these movies can make us feel better about ourselves in our everyday lives.
Well, yeah.
That was kind of the point, right?
Oh,
so maybe.
I know this movie. No,
You saw
but
it?
I remember parts of it. Or maybe it
Okay.
just, I don't know. It just looks familiar.
She didn't see it, but she remembers.
I remember clips, but I don't think I watched it or paid attention.
Wait, just to give a little bit of a taste of what's going to come up with our impression series. Didn't you say that one of the movies that made a big impression on you was Moulin Rouge, Alexis?
Yes.
And I know Peter hates that movie with every fiber of his being.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll be fun then.
I mean, we're talking about different eras of taste.
But you guys put it up to 2007, so that takes it out.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, when did it come out?
But I didn't watch it between those. Yeah.
Oh. At what age did you watch it?
I was in high school.
Might be
We could do a sequel series at some point. Movies that influenced us, out of high
That
school.
one I feel might be interesting because that's when I think I started really getting into movies.
Well, to me, it's interesting, right? Because I would feel much more comfortable talking about post high school, the movies that got me really for the first time invested into movies and film and
No,
everything
mine was
about
in
it.
high school.
And different kinds of them.
Ending of middle school, beginning of high school is when I was like all the movies that I mentioned to you last time after we were done. That's when I watched all of those movies. That's when I watched Casablanca, all of the Audrey Hepburn movies. That's when I watched I don't even remember. I watched French movies. I got really into really weird movies at that time. So that would be an interesting one for me.
Peter?
Okay.
All right, I think we're done here. Thank you all for listening. Stay under the spotlight for much more content, and we will see you next time. Stay safe. Stay in your damn houses. Bye-bye.